My name is Matthias, I'm the CEO of Seeability, and in this short video I will introduce you to Seeability's most important features, how to best use them, and how to get the most out of it for your business and website. Let's get started. So, this is your Seeability dashboard. When you look at this, you will now see that I already added a website as a project. Your dashboard is probably empty. I will show you in a second how to add your first website as a project and what to change or not change in the settings of the project. Before we do this, I will say that on your dashboard you also find a list of additional tools to use, which include, for example, the TF-IDF tool, which is for exploring topics or optimizing your content, and the keyword research tool for researching keywords, or for example the SERP snippet generator to optimize your SERP snippet, meaning the title and description. Now adding your website as a project basically unlocks the three main features of Seeability, which are comprehensive website audit, backlink analysis, and rank tracking for the added project. Let's get started by adding your first project. If you click Add Project, you will be prompted to enter your start URL. This is usually your homepage. When I click out of this form field, you will see that we automatically recognize any redirects. You could name the project differently from the URL if you want. And then there are numerous other settings to take. They are marked as optional for good reason, because it's really advanced settings you usually do not need for the start. One setting stands out though, it's the scheduled crawling. Essentially, you should turn this on. It's the feature that turns the audit into a monitor, if you will, because it automatically crawls your website over and over again after a certain period of time. In this case, it's set to 3 waiting days after each crawling. You can change this to 7, for example, but it's really a very recommended setting to enable. And yeah, that's it. You can start crawling now. And you can actually watch it live. This is your overview of an added project. You see the URL, how it's called, a thumbnail. You have a project checklist, which is essentially checks referring to the whole website and not only a single page. As an example, you would have an average response time. So while you can look at the response time for each page in the detailed analysis, you also get an average value here. Maybe your redirect settings are not really functional or do have problems. You would see it here and stuff like that. Over here, you can basically watch in live, so in real time, which pages are being crawled by our bots. Down here, you would have a list of completed crawlings with downloaded and checked pages. So why is there a difference between downloaded and checked pages? Essentially, your website can have 300 pages, but only 100 of them or 200 of them are actually relevant for SEO. The others might redirect, the others might be having a canonical link or something like that. We are focusing on the pages that are actually supposed to go to the Google index. So also excluded would be, of course, pages that are marked no index. Having said that, we are now doing a jump over to the project that I have prepared already, which is Lauf.de, my hometown, and I will guide you through this project and explain the different features and how to work with Seeability. So after the crawling is completed, you basically see an overall optimization score, which is referring to the on-page optimization of your project or website. We kind of made up a threefold structure for the on-page optimization, which is tag and meta, structure, and content. This is nothing official by Google or something, but it really helps because our on-page check has 300 SEO parameters checked on every page. It has more than 50 analysis, and having them as one is really overwhelming. So structuring it is a great helper to work through the tasks and the issues and optimization opportunities. Down here, you can see also divided in these 3 components, the historical optimization graph. This is chronological, but not by date, but by crawlings, because these are the times when we know what's up with your website. So as you can see, we've had a pretty problematic crawling here on, in this case, that's October 2023. And yeah, by now it's looking much better here in June 2024. Down here you have a list of completed crawlings, which is just an overview. And now we're getting into the details, which are to be found up here. As I said, on-page is divided in these 3 segments, and we will go right into tech and meta to look at the details. So over here, you see the same optimization graph that you just saw, focused on tech and meta. You have the score over here. You see some details about the current crawling you're looking at. And with this bar here, you can look at a specific URL if you want. And now comes the real working place, so to speak. So that's where you will probably spend most of your time working with Seeability. Each section of the on-page audit is basically split in this to-do list, which is a pre-prioritized list of issues or optimization potentials that we found. Pre-prioritized means we're looking at the gravity of an issue and how often it occurred. And then you could click Show Report over here, and you would be taken to this report that in this case refers to technical problems, or here to the response times of your pages. Down here you have a more complete view of all analysis and statistics. So while you only have issues up here, which is a great guidance, and as I said, it's pre-prioritized, so feel free to work with this to-do list if you want to. Down here you can look at each statistic or analysis separately, independent of whether it has an actual reported issue or not. For example, we don't have duplicate meta descriptions, but you could still look at this report. The analysis or the reports are clustered in what we think makes sense clusters. This is just to help you with navigating the many analysis. And for some reports we have visualizations, for example, the distribution of response times, or this overview of HTTP status codes. We will now look right into one of the analysis, and I will show you how it actually works. Again, you could now click either here on Show Report, or take this analysis down here, which is pages with technical problems, and click it here. You would, in both cases, land at the same page with reported URLs with technical problems. One more information. You see the amount of issues here. You see how it changed in comparison to the last crawling. And so in this case, the technical problems increased. And when you hover over an analysis, you see how important we deem it. In this case, 200 points, extremely important. This is a great indicator. If you have no feeling or knowledge about how grave a problem is, you can basically get educated looking through our software. Let's click on pages with technical problems. And here you will usually, that's how all of our report pages are structured, have optimization tips up here. You can unfold this, and then you will see that we have a lot of text expert, SEO expert knowledge ready for you to consume and learn about what is this analysis, why is it important, and what are most common issues and how to fix them. We even have a short video tutorial included, which helps you not only understand but also work with the analysis and solve problems on your website to the extent where it's possible for us. Of course, every website and setup is different, but generally there are some things to look at. So it's very valuable to really look at these optimization tips in each analysis. And then up here you see the optimization scores. So in this case, back at the start, this website had little or no technical issues. And then in today's crawling, or in the most recent crawling, we have 6 of these problems. So you can see that over time this didn't really improve, but instead now we're at 6 issues. This could really be starting with a lot of problems and then gravitate towards 0 ideally. So when you work and optimize, you should see these optimization scores on this inverted graph go up. The technical problems are now displayed in a table here, and that's how all of our reports really look like. On the left side you have the affected URL, and so in this case this URL is having the problem, and on the right side you see what the problem is. In this case, an HTTP status 4. Some of the analysis, and I will show you an example in a second. So when there is more information required to understand the issue at hand, sometimes you will find a details link, which would require you to dig deeper, but I will show it to you in a second. So here, you know, this URL is having this HTTP status code. And in this case, to understand how this problem occurs, we would click the link. Then we are looking at the detailed check of this specific page that is affected with the status code 404. And then we would look at links in this case to see where this problematic page is linked, because our crawler follows every link on your website. If you have a 404, so a page that essentially doesn't exist, we need to know where it is linked to be able to remove this link to a non-existing page. There are other constellations where you want to place a 301 redirect, or where you want to reinstate the content that is now missing because it was previously existing. But in this case, we keep it simple and say it's a linked page that is not existing. Let's remove the link. And then we see that from the home page, you would have to follow this click path, and then on this page, our problematic URL is being linked. So what to do? Go to this page, find the problematic link, and then remove the link. Okay, going back to Tag and Meta, I said I would want to show you a report that requires diving deeper into the data. So let's take problems with headings. In this case, the home page seems to be having structural problems. Again, up here, you can see all the optimization tips we prepared for you. Watch the video. You can see how the optimization developed over time. In this case, it's getting worse instead of better. And these are the affected URLs. And over here, instead of knowing exactly what the problem is, we need to look at details because it's too much information to display right on this page. Clicking on details, we are now looking at the headline levels. So this click brought us to the analysis of this affected URL. So we're now looking at the home page and to the correct tab and the correct subheading that has the required information for the analysis we were looking at. It's supposed to have structural problems with headings, and we click on details and we see these are our headline levels. And looking at this, the H1 is missing. So we don't have an H1, which is an important content element and should be present on our website or a web page. So that's the issue. We know about it now, and now we can go and solve it in our CMS or on our website. Good. Now you know how the analysis or the reports in general are structured and how to work with them. I will briefly show you that the other parts of the on-page analysis, like structure and content, they look really similar. You have this information section up there. Then you have the to-do list that is pre-prioritized up here. And then you have the clustered reports in a complete fashion. So you can work with either this to-do list or just inspect the displayed issues on an analysis level like this. Okay, so that was the on-page part, the website audit of Seeability, and now we're looking at the next module. It's backlinks. Backlinks are links from other websites to your website, and you generally differentiate between referring domains, which is one website usually, and then referring links, which can be more than one link from the same domain. So for example, Friendly Business is linking to your website. However, they do it on the footer, in the footer, and they have 20 pages on their website. You would have 20 links from one referring domain. That as an example. So what can we see here? We see the referring domains over time. We see that they are a little bit declining. We see some statistics here referring top level domains. So what is de.com, .co.uk, maybe some governmental or educational domains. The follow or no follow attribute of links and how the statistic looks like for the backlinks to your project. And yeah, then clicking this link, you could also compare the development of links to your competitors that you have added and see that, yeah, Lauf is the blue line, and you, for example, see that this Frankentourism is having this development in backlinks. Now down here, you see that you have, first of all, an overview of all referring domains. And then if you click here, you see that there are several links from this domain. And you also have 3 columns. One is the referring domain or page, the link rating, so how good, how strong is a link. Not every link is equal. And then the link anchor, so the text of the link, and the target. In this case, the link text is www.lauf.de. It's a follow link and it's a text link, and it directs to this URL of your website. Then we have different tabs here. You can, on a weekly basis, see which new links your website won compared to the previous week. You can see which links the website has lost compared to the previous week. You have an anchor text analysis, so with which anchor text do the links, the backlinks, link to your website. Very famously, the broken link analysis. This is really a gem of analysis. You can basically look at the backlinks to your website and see whether they are all linking to working pages or whether some of them might link to broken pages, for example, to a 404. It takes a while to analyze and calculate this. Furthermore, as I already mentioned, you can add competitors to your project. So websites that are in the same business, targeting the same keywords, are competitors of yours. You see their referring domains and their backlinks. And now what's really great is once you added competitors, you can calculate link building opportunities. We have different approaches for this. For example, if more than one competitor is linked on the same page, you can assume that this page might be open to linking to you too. So that's an opportunity. Or and some other opportunities, and also the broken backlink analysis that you have for your own website. It works the other way around too. If a competitor has broken backlinks, meaning has backlinks that point to pages of his website which are not available, you would have a great opportunity to reach out to the backlinking website and ask them whether they want to instead link to your well-working content, which is an equivalent or maybe even better than your previous competitors' content. So use these tools to help get help building backlinks. All right, and then we are looking at our rank tracking in Seeability. What you see up here is our calculated value of visibility. It is calculated from the keywords you enter, the search volume of these keywords, and your position, so your rankings. The further you're up, the more share of the search volume you are basically directing in terms of traffic and visibility to your website. So we calculate based on some assumptions and data points, we calculate this visibility score for you. And essentially from all of your keywords, we combine them and it's your total visibility score. Each day you see how it developed in comparison to the previous day. You can look at it either on a daily, weekly or monthly basis. You can include local pack data or not. And down here are the single search terms that you added. I will briefly show how this looks like. You click on add term. You can then either do a geographically more targeted rank tracking. For example, people from a certain place searching in Google, that's a thing. Or you say, well, national search is fine for me. I wanna, in my case, Germany, Google.de, and then add some search terms which might be interesting for your website or important. So for example, Lauf Hotel or Lauf Stellenangebote, which is basically job offers in German. And then you got them down here. You could also provide your own search terms. And if you're happy, you save and add them to your rank tracking. It's easy as that. Here you got your search term. You got the search engine you entered. Here is the position that we currently determined for you, which is in this case position 1 on Google. Here is the change compared to the previous period, which would be like yesterday in this case, because we're on a daily view, but we were ranked 1 yesterday and we are today. Here is the URL that is ranking for this keyword. This +1 indicates that you have more than just one URL, in this case another one ranking for this keyword. We're twice in the top 100 for this keyword. This is the search volume, so how often the keyword is being searched on Google in this search engine setting. This here is the search intent. It is basically the intent behind a search query. So if somebody is looking for an iPhone and he types in iPhone space gray, iPhone 13 Max space gray, whatever, then you would be pretty sure that he intends to buy this and wants to see prices, which would be transactional search intent. And then others like Laufstadt, which is basically city of Lauf in English, and it would usually be the intent that people want to look up information of that city. So the dominant search intent is informational in this case. And looking at the search intents can help you determine whether the kind of content that you have is actually fitting the intent of the searcher. So you want to make sure that if people for a certain keyword, or when they enter this, they want to buy something, that you don't just have a blog article explaining what it is. You will probably not have a good chance to rank well for it. We have a great blog article for this. Also, we have CPC, which is cost per click, which is a data point taken from Google Ads. So if you would buy 1 click on Google Ads, how much would it cost you? Again, we're looking at SEO here. So you're trying to rank organically without paying per click. But if you would pay using Google Ads, that's what it would cost. It is a rough indicator for competition of a keyword. And then finally, we have the tags here. So you can tag your keywords and by that cluster them. So for example, Wenzelburg is a famous building in Lauf. So it's a German word Wahrzeichen. Good thing I have a translator here. It's a landmark, and you could have different landmarks in your city, and then you basically could cluster them for ranking for landmarks and then look at the development of the rankings of landmarks. Or for other kinds of websites, this might be very different. So a tag could be a category, or it could also be a product, a specific product that is offered under different variations, but you want to see how the entire product line is doing. So this helps you look at your keywords in a more segmented way. Also up here, you can then filter the visibility chart for tags. So enable or disable this filter for tags, and also add the view for your competitors and how are they doing. Good. I think that this was the most important information for you to know when getting started with Seeability. What else is there to know? For the entered keywords, you will get a weekly ranking report automatically to your inbox. After each new crawling of your project, you will also get a crawling report to your inbox showing you what changed compared to the previous crawling, and then you can click and enter your Seeability application and look at the details. Before I wrap this up, I want to briefly take you to our keyword research tool, which is one of the complementary tools that I mentioned at the very beginning. We will now look at an example keyword just to show you what basically this analysis or this keyword research tool can do with different analysis. For starters, you can say, so that's my keyword and I want to know what people also ask, or what related searches on Google are, or what Google autocomplete offers when I type in Nike Air. This can really help you find more specific long tail keywords, and you could change the search engine. So if you're in a different country, pick a different search engine, and then you just enter the keyword search, and it's usually very fast, and you will get the results. And you can see here when people enter Nike Air, then Google suggests Nike Air Max, Air Nike Force One, Air Jordan from Nike, and so on. And that's the search volume of these keywords. That is the competition and the CPC. Competition and CPC. So while this is the how much the different users are bidding, this is how many bidding users there are. So the combination is also helpful for determining the competition for a certain keyword. And you could also do people also ask to find out what the people also ask boxes offer. Why is it called Nike Air? It's really low search volume, but that's something people seem to be interested in, and Google is offering them answers to these questions, so they could be inspiration for your content creation too. Next to the related keyword analysis, we also have a URL and domain analysis. With this, you are essentially looking at a URL or the entire domain to find out which organic rankings it might have, or which Google ads it might be running for these pages. And then we have the competitor analysis, which includes a gap and an intersection analysis, where I don't want to go into details now. This is a little bit more advanced. You can read everything about it in our more advanced and complete keyword research guide. At this point, I want to say thank you for tuning in. Happy optimizing. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to our support team. Send an email to support@seeability.net and we will happily help you out.